tell you like this. When I saw that, I think T.I. fucking lying.
Tell me. It been 20 years, bro. It been 20 years. I figure if I wasn't built like that, it'll show by now. It been 20 years, bro. I done faced every challenge motherfucker that like to throw at me, man. You ain't seen break that.
I gotta say something about this, bro. Dwayne Wade, you gone too fucking far, dog. That is a male. A 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have it figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything at 16 and fall in love with her. But it's be gone. I don't like, bro, you going too far, dog. Don't cut his off, bro. Like, bro, for real. If he gonna be gay, let him be gay. But don't cut his dog, bro.
Let me be completely honest with you. When I saw what was happening, my first thought was, he's not telling the truth. I just didn't buy it. Think about it. We're talking about 2 whole decades. 20 years is a long time. If a person was truly built a certain way, if they had that kind of character deep inside them, you would have seen clear proof of it by now. It would have shown up in how they handle life. Over all that time, I've faced pretty much every kind of challenge a person can throw at me. I've been tested, and through it all, you've never once seen me fall apart. You've never seen me break. But I have to speak up about this. It's gone too far. What he's talking about doing involves a child, a 12-year-old boy. At 12, a kid is still figuring out who they are. They don't have their entire life mapped out. They might not even know what they're having for dinner tonight, let alone who they're going to be as an adult. That young boy might meet someone when he's 16 and fall head over heels. That's a normal part of growing up. But to even suggest something as permanent and drastic as surgery for a child that age is just wrong. It feels like you're crossing a line that should never be crossed. If that young man grows up and discovers he's gay, then that's who he is, and he should be free to live his truth. But you don't make irreversible physical changes to a child's body. That's a decision for a fully formed adult, not a kid who is still in the process of becoming themselves. The atmosphere in the courtroom was supposed to be calm, orderly, and respectful of the law. But in a single, explosive moment, all of that careful control vanished. T surged to his feet, his voice booming through the quiet room, his raw fury slicing through the formal proceedings. Everyone seemed to freeze in place. The lawyers at their tables shifted in their seats, looking deeply uncomfortable. The judge, trying to regain authority, pounded the gavel hard on the desk, demanding order. But in that moment, T was beyond hearing it. His powerful voice drowned out the sound of the gavel and the hushed, shocked whispers from the spectators. He wasn't speaking as the famous rapper, the successful actor, or the shrewd businessman the public knows. In that raw and painful instant, he was just a father. And his furious words were aimed directly at Boosie. He accused him of something so deeply personal and shocking that even the most jaded observers in the room were taken aback. He stated, in no uncertain terms, that Boosie had been deliberately manipulating his son, King Harris. That heavy accusation didn't just linger in the air. It detonated. You could hear audible gasps from the crowd. Some people leaned forward, not wanting to miss a single word of the drama, while others simply shook their heads, as if they couldn't believe what they were hearing. This wasn't a diss track playing on the radio or a war of words in magazine interviews. This was painfully real life. This was a father, filled with a potent mix of desperation and rage, standing up in a formal legal setting and declaring to the world that a man he once considered a friend had been poisoning his own child's mind. To really grasp why this moment was so powerful and shocking, you have to look at the history. T and Boosie weren't always bitter enemies. There was actually a time when they stood together as allies. They were 2 talented rappers from the South, both trying to make a name for themselves in a music industry that wasn't always welcoming to their sound. Their careers intersected many times on concert stages, in recording studios, and even in more private, personal settings. But like so many relationships that form in the high-pressure world of entertainment, the bond between them wasn't as solid as it appeared on the surface. Behind the public smiles, the firm handshakes for the cameras, and the occasional musical collaborations, there was always a low current of tension. And that underlying strain only grew stronger over the years, fed by professional disagreements, personal rivalries, and simple pride. Yet, even with all their past issues, No one could have possibly predicted that their most serious and public falling out would revolve around T.E.'s son, King Harris. King has never been just the son of T and Tiny. He literally grew up under the relentless glare of the public spotlight. Cameras have documented his entire life, from his early childhood through his turbulent teenage years and now into his young adulthood. Growing up with that kind of constant attention creates an immense amount of pressure. Every single choice he makes is analyzed and picked apart by strangers. Every mistake he makes is amplified and turned into a public talking point. In more recent years, fans and critics alike have noticed a significant change in his behavior. King has been acting out, getting involved in public disputes, and displaying a rebellious streak that has both entertained his followers and deeply concerned those who care about his well-being. That rebellious attitude didn't just appear out of nowhere. It developed gradually over time, shaped by the high-stakes environment he was raised in, the people he chose to listen to, and the voices he decided to trust. And according to T, one of the most influential and damaging voices in his son's life was Boosie *S.at first. Many people thought their connection was harmless, maybe even a positive mentorship. Boosie has always been an intensely outspoken figure, a man who lives his life without apology and never holds back his opinions. For a young man like King, who is searching for his own identity, being around someone with that kind of fearless energy probably felt thrilling and empowering. It might have felt like a taste of real freedom, but for a father watching from the sidelines, it was absolutely terrifying. T saw his son being drawn towards someone who openly celebrated the very kind of reckless lifestyle he had spent years trying to shield his son from. He had worked hard to provide a stable foundation, and it seemed like Boosie was encouraging King to tear it all down. By the time the two men found themselves facing each other in that courtroom, the situation had already passed its breaking point. T had been desperately trying to pull his son back towards solid ground, to remind him of the family values he was raised with, and to steer him away from danger. But from his perspective, every single effort he made only seemed to push King further away, straight into Boosie's orbit. And in T.E.'s eyes, Boosie wasn't just a passive influence. He was actively pouring fuel on the fire. So when that final moment arrived, when all the built-up frustration, fear, and paternal love could no longer be contained, T finally snapped. He stood up and told the court, the world, and Boosie himself exactly what he believed was happening. He accused Boosie of not just being a bad influence, but of deliberately manipulating his son. He claimed Boosie was encouraging King to disrespect his own family, to reject the guidance of his parents, and to chase a dangerous, reckless lifestyle that has destroyed countless young men before they even understand what they are throwing away. This wasn't just a minor disagreement over different life philosophies. To T, this was a battle for his son's very soul and future. The judge continued to demand silence, but you could feel the electric, tense energy buzzing in the room. Boosie, for his part, sat at his table looking calm and unbothered on the surface. But if you watched his eyes, they gave away more than he probably intended. He might have smirked or shaken his head dismissively, but you could tell that T.E.'s sharp words had hit their mark. Because deep down, whether he would ever admit it publicly or not, there was very likely a grain of truth in what T was saying. Outside the walls of the courtroom, the story spread instantly, like a wildfire fanned by high winds. Headlines blared across every major news and entertainment website. T accuses Boosie of manipulating King Harris. Social media platforms exploded with heated debates. Fans were sharply divided. One group sided firmly with T, arguing that any father has a fundamental right and responsibility to protect his child from negative influences, no matter who they are. The other group defended Boosie, claiming that he was just being his authentic self, and that King, as a young adult, was ultimately responsible for his own choices and actions. But no matter which side people were on, everyone could agree on one